Welcome back to another fresh episode of the Daddio Show. Glad to be back. This is Harding Ison-Bowman from PartnerWithGreatness.com. We're a youth development platform. We want to help you do a few things if you're a young person. We want to help you, number one, heal up from damages you may have been dealt. Bad stuff happens, and if you're not careful, you can get stuck dwelling on or not moving past those bad things that have happened to you and just stay stuck, and that's not good. We want to also help you take control of what you can control and move on to live that most powerful and blessed life possible for you. All right, David Cozart is back. We're on episode 25 of the Daddio Show, by the way. This is a weekly mentoring session deal where we talk to young men who are fatherless, as well as mentors and father figures out there who want to get involved in this fatherhood space and stand in the gap and help meet the needs, of all the young people out there who lack a fatherhood figure. So really special work. And as we get deeper into this conversation, I've got cats like David Cozart. I'm kind of glad that I didn't have access to David excuse me, back when I was doing the first few episodes, for example, because I don't know if I would have been prepared to really ask the good enough questions to take advantage of his expertise. I mean, we're getting in deep on it now, folks. David's going to talk today about a little bit about deadbeat dads versus dead broke dads, the role that mothers play in the equation, and how to get started as a mentor. The right channels to go through if you're interested in mentoring and pouring into the lives of young people and fathers in fatherhood space. So get ready for another awesome episode. Appreciate you guys so much. Stick around and listen all the way through. I've got the timestamps available for you if you want to skip to certain parts, and we'll see you on the episode.
It's crazy, man, that we actually know there are studies that show that daddies don't come around sometimes because they can't bring stuff and they can't live up to the really unrealistic at times expectation. And I work with daddies all the time, fathers all the time that are broken for their children. And there's a fine line between me, because I'm like to think that I'm a pretty stern teacher. So I'm like, hey, bro, you got something you need to be doing. You got a place you need to be. You need to get yourself to a place where you can be there.
I see
That's my
those eyebrows going up.
yeah. Well, it's in love, man.
Right.
And but I know personally how it can feel to want to give something to someone you love, particularly your children, but anybody you love. But I ain't got it. Uh, I've been heard saying, and it's tried. Other people have said it. I don't believe in dead beat dads. I believe there are dead broke dads. They're dead broke financially. They're dead broke emotionally. They're dead broke spiritually. They're dead
Wow.
broke mentally at times. And don't no man want to be broke, man. And no man wants to go around their family broke. You see
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
And so many will just stay gone because they're broke in one of those litany of ways. And so um, it's oh
You're right.
yeah, I'm all right. I just had a message pop up.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
That is huge, man. You so have deeply sounded the mind of the fatherhood position there. Especially the less than ideal fatherhood position. I mean, unfortunately, reality is we don't always have all the money and all the resources we want at all times, and that really, I think, factors into a man's sense of self worth as that provider
100%.
role. Of course, I'm just kind of maybe muddying up what you've already said way better than I did, but I'm glad you touched on that. What um, I want to go for a second since we've gone there now. This may be a good time to go also to the motherhood side of the table here. I don't know if people wonder, why I don't talk about motherhood and mothers and mother figures and stuff more than I do. I mean, it's a fatherhood podcast. It's not anything against anybody. I just choose to focus on one side. But, I think this might be an opportunity for us to bring clarity, understanding, healing, whatever, to the table by kind of looking over at the motherhood side, so you're talking about the mindset of the father. It's not a deadbeat dad; it's a dead broke dad. The father is obviously feeling a lot of pressure and feelings of shame associated with his maybe lack of ability to provide at the time or something like that. Um, what would you say to women, not to condemn or try to teach them something they already know, but what do you want women to know about that beyond what you've already said?
Great question. Very important, very germane. There are women in the fatherhood field as well. You should know that, and it's growing. Um, so, first of all, mothers are important. Uh, and mothers and motherhood is inextricably tied to the fatherhood work. Any good fatherhood program is teaching respect of the father of the baby to the mother of the baby.
I agree.
It's teaching the father of the baby to be empathetic with mother of the baby. It's teaching father of the baby that he at one point maybe screwed up and lied to the mother of the baby and told her she was the one and only and they were going to be forever, and was feeding her some soup just to try to get some a benefit out of it. So we teach that, we talk about that. Some men will say, well, I don't even like the mother of my baby. And when this is a bit crude, but it's when we're talking, they'll say, I don't even like the mother of my baby. I said, well, for one, you're in a perpetual relationship with her because of the child y'all had together. So it's either a relationship that's like that, or it's either like that or like that or like that, but it's always related because the child's there. And when they say they don't like them, I say, well, you liked her a whole lot for at least 30 seconds at one point because y'all got a baby together. And so I remind them that respect has to be there. We also talk about, there's some other language that I like to see changed because as we mentioned earlier, I think language is very important in messages. That's what language is. And I don't like baby mama or baby daddy. That is not your baby's mom, your baby mama. That is the mother of your child that carried that child for potentially 9+ months, and is caring for that child in a custodial fashion right now in many cases. And so, mothers, please know that you are a highly regarded and highly respected element in the equation.
Mm-hmm.
But also, please know that if you love your child, and I know you do, I believe there's a maternal instinct. I would pose to mothers that there's also a paternal instinct, and that father loves them too and wants to be able to grow to love them more. So anything you can do in your keeper of the gate position, because they are oftentimes. Uh, Please, be willing to let dad, step in where he can.
Mm.
And then I remind mamas and daddies that children would be fine if it wasn't for grown folk. And so if y'all got grown folk issues that is impacting the child, get over it. And I say that to mama and daddy. And so mothers are important, man. Mamas are a big thing. I love my mama.
Yeah.
And fathers, you teach that boy of yours to respect his mother. Fathers, you tell that daughter of yours if she's at mama's house, you better not get a call and mama tell me that you're acting silly. I want you to respect mama. And you can't teach them, you can't tell them to do something you're not doing. So.
Oh man, I totally agree, man. Yeah, you got to make sure that you have the moral integrity, the moral legs to stand on if you're gonna, try to influence somebody else's behavior. Look at your own first. I totally agree with that, man. I'm kind of I guess a stickler, a purist when it comes to that. I just don't think we have any business doing it if we're not saying to do it if we're not doing it. So I'm glad you brought that up. All right, what do women do well to complement what fathers do? Like where do you see some examples of what mothers are? Can we give the mothers some kudos for what you see them doing well to complement the paternal with the maternal?
Yeah. Man, there are lots of mothers out there, for one, that are burning candle at both ends, being single moms, and
Ooh, I know it.
they are in positions that they have to almost split themselves, for their children in their household.
Yeah.
So they
Yikes.
they yeah, they're providing oftentimes without supplemental or second party income. They are getting two different kids transported to two different sides of towns for two different extracurricular activities in between the time that they're working and taking care of things at home. They are at times seemingly superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do a great job of that. I've seen mothers that are working with fathers of babies that are dealing with their own demons of sorts. The fathers are
Mm.
addiction, or you know different incarceration in and out, which oftentimes is associated with addiction, or difficulty finding a job. And I've seen mamas that have given their latitude and had the agility with visitation, and I've seen mothers that have been very gracious when fathers of their children have went on to new relationships with other women, with other children, and blended families. And mothers have said, women in the field have said, "Listen, I don't like her a whole bunch, but my son, my daughter needs to interface with his daddy, so he knows that he is whole, or she knows that she is whole. And I'm not going to impede that because of my dislike of this new such and such that he's seeing or dating or married or whatever."
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen, man. I've seen mamas swallow a great deal of pain and hurt, uh, and go on and be in a relationship with a man that's hurt them, sometimes even physically at one stage in life. But they say, no, my child, my son, my daughter needs to know his daddy. And so my pain does not supersede their success. So, um,
Ooh,
yeah,
if that isn't sacrifice, I don't know what is, you know?
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, for the sake of the child, have been very strong in sacrificing. Hmm.
Yes, sir. Okay, so,
Let me say one more thing that, on
please
behalf
do.
of women and fathers, if I could. Um, and also, I want to release mothers from this, that I think I've heard so many of not just mothers, but also, human services is, when I do trainings and workshops, I'm often looking out upon mostly a female crowd who are mothers, but are also in the human service provision field. And I've heard it many times, and I've almost had things thrown at me. I think I may have had something thrown at me at one point, but when a woman would say, "I'm the mama and the daddy," I want to release women from feeling like they have to be. And I would go on to suggest there's no way they can be.
Okay.
There, you can be in a household where both of those roles are not being fulfilled at the time, and you seek to fulfill those roles. But you can't be, mama, you can't be mama and daddy. You
Yeah.
can do some of the things that daddies would do if they were there, but you can't be mom and daddy. So I want to release you from that, mother. Uh, you be a strong mother, and that's what you were designed to be. And our prayer is that those other characteristics or those roles of the father, if the father doesn't fulfill that, that there's someone else in that young man or young girl's life that can help do that. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, and that's not an easy thing to say. That's your touching on touchy ground, and I think we cannot skirt around the difficult parts of this conversation if it's going to have the substance that it needs to have to make a difference and drive forward this issue in our culture. And that's also we talked about sacrifice a minute ago, and now you're asking sacrifice and faith of a mother. So if you you put it together beautifully. If you release a mother from the feeling the responsibility to be a father, then she's going to naturally ask herself, well, who will stand in the gap? Who will answer the call? Who will provide that side of upbringing?
Starting Ison-Bowman.
Yes, sir. I'm here. Here am I, send me. Where do so how can a person get plugged in? Like, say there's somebody listening right now and they're like, man, that's I've never heard it put that way before. I want to help young people who are in need of that, non-maternal figure to fulfill that part of their training, their upbringing. How does a person get started there? Because I'm just going to say this out loud. Like, the first thing I would be thinking if I was new to this conversation, I was listening to this episode, I'd be like, how do I help without being a creeper? Like, I'm just some dude that wants to help and mentor the young people. And like, I don't know anybody. I'm not connected to anybody. Like, who am I? How do I get plugged in? Who do I serve? How do I help?
Yeah. So I'll answer that a couple ways in reference to being in the lives of young people. You don't want to be perceived as a creeper. And there are people and programs that are put in place so that it's not the perception. And so you don't want to walk when we're able to again in a mall and find an abandoned young person and look at a young person and say, can I be in your life? Can I help you? That's not the way to do it. That can do, the rule, first do no harm. But there are programs, there are schools, there are there are church ministries. I promise you, particularly if you're a man, specifically if you're an African American man, and you say, I want to be in the life of a young person and try to be a positive figure, man, you will have no problem getting plugged in and engaged because there is a dearth, there is a shortage of male mentors. We've got a mentoring program here, and we keep a waiting list of young men, particularly African American young men, that we want to connect with African American men. I think there are particular reasons for that.
Yeah.
Not that African American men are absent or apathic or pathological. I don't buy into that narrative. But the fact is that we have more marginalized African American families disproportionately, so we have more mentees that are African American.
Yeah.
If you want to get involved, plug in with a program, Google mentoring program, or go to your high school and talk to the principal or the counselor and say, is there a way that I can work in the school and be of benefit? Be willing to go through the background checks, the drug test, and all those things. You want to be part of this fatherhood program or start one in your part of the state? We're actually working on putting together templates for programs that can be started on efforts that can go on across the state. That can happen, man. But if you holler at me, there are ways that you could be plugged in.
Yeah. Yeah. Go where the organized adult groups are already set up and are safely vetting and screening the potential applicants. That's key. I'm glad you said that.
Absolutely right. We are volunteer driven here, but I will tell you, just as our mentoring programs vet the potential mentors. If you came and you said, hey man, I want to do one of those groups, I'd love to be in front of men and talking to them about fatherhood and sharing my experiences and walking and doing life with men. Uh, I I want to get in your life before I'm going to let you get into other men's life. So I'm going to vet you like you was going to be mentoring a child, though you'd be overseeing men. But I'm not going to put somebody in front of men, pouring into them, seeking to help build them up that I'm not confident in. That's for me to steward and provide oversight to. So I take it pretty seriously as well.
Yeah, totally. There's that level too. There's young people in need. There's men who want to provide that need, and then there's men who steward that process of training and overseeing. How that's being safely done. That's true. Yeah, man. I've seen situations in the school system where
you get like a young male substitute teacher. They're not part of our community in the school, but they come in, they want to sub, and the job duties are pretty clear for a sub. It's academically based, and you probably want to tread lightly when it comes to anything else that you might want to convey or accomplish there. But I've seen some instances where somebody said some things to some young people, and I feel like they may have thought their intentions were good. I want to assume the best there, but it's like, oh, bro, why'd you have to go there? Like, way too much, way too soon, probably the wrong place. You definitely didn't build up, enough reputation here to go anywhere near that. And those of us who work here full time even know further that like we're doubly accountable to, be careful with our, personal evangelism and things of that nature. And I've seen people get, burn us and get burned out pretty quickly and ask not to come back. But I don't know that there was a lot that they learned from that experience. Like I don't know that there was a lot of useful feedback that they could get from that so that they could maybe go on and kind of sand off some of those rough edges and become successful and become healthy in, mentoring young people down the road. How does one, aside from the careful stewarding and mentoring that they should be receiving from folks like you, how would a potential mentor kind of check themselves and maybe self weed out some of the weirdness or some of the things that don't belong in that mentoring relationship? Are there maybe some checks or some self asking questions that you can run through before you go down that road to kind of like clarify what you're doing and why you're doing it?
Are you talking about someone that's working in fatherhood and seeking to be a facilitator or group leader or something?
Yeah, just to work in the lives of young people.
Oh, in the lives of young people.
Young
Because
people.
yeah, because I consider the fatherhood program to be a children's program via the father. But yeah, check in the lives of those young people. For one, if I'm not saying you have to come perfect, healed, and perfect and have it all together, because I believe we miss a lot of opportunities and some great mentors that are still growing. But I do feel like that you have to come with a complete awareness and acknowledgement of those places in you that have been hurt or damaged in your life. And so don't be trying to help yourself through helping somebody else, particularly a young person, because you could do some harm, right?
Wow.
And so, again, you don't have to be I don't think you have to be 100% uh, where you're going to be once you're completely healed and whole. But you do have to have a keen awareness that, yeah, I'm jacked up and I don't need to be with a kid that's been sexually abused because I'm still dealing with my stuff, you know? Uh, but if you can acknowledge that, you know what I'm saying? And you have to be forthright about that. So that's one self check. And, if you're getting more out of it than the kid, then you might want to check yourself. You might want to ask if you're willing to be sacrificial, and what's that, how sacrificial are you willing to be? If it is a biracial match or a match of different races, white man, young black man, black woman, young white woman, or white girl that she's mentoring, make sure that you're not trying to be some great savior, for that race, the great white savior or the great black savior, if it were. That is not okay. Uh, but if it is truly out of compassion, let's do it. Doggy.
Hey, this is Beanie. He was
Beanie?
wanting some attention, so I figured I'd let him bust up in the scene.
Ain't no problem. Ain't no problem.
No, those were some. Those are huge, man. What do you feel like that's something like? I think to a lot of people that would seem advanced. Like, whoa, those are some nuanced, advanced things that you may not even be ready to think about until later down the road. But in a way, I feel like let's quit playing around and dancing around the fact that people come into these relationships with weirdness, with baggage, and it's not to say that
Yeah,
they're
man.
unworthy. You know, you can be a worthy mentor. Like you said, you don't have to be 100% whole to even embark on the journey, but let's become very blunt about, you know, making sure that, I don't know, that you're not going down a dark path that was once intended for good, you know?
Yeah, my candor gets me in some places sometimes that, you know, yeah, my wife tells me I'm too candid sometimes, but if you tell me you have these issues, it's not, that's why I try to qualify it. The issues aren't an immediate disqualifier, you know, let, let's address it. And because this could be mutually beneficial if we do it right. You
Yep.
could be getting, you know, you could be growing as we do this. And maybe you're not gonna, hey, I don't think you're ready to mentor now, but I don't think you're ready to facilitate now. But you and I get in relationship for about 6 months. Let's see where we go with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
What,
saying? I can't look at the elephant over there and I'll be like, am I the only one that sees this elephant over there in the corner? Because it's clearly there. And I call I'm gonna write a book one day called The Defecating Elephant. I'm like, if you can't see it, surely you can smell it because it's over there dropping bombs, dog. So I suggest we speak to it, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
At least let's get a pooper scooper in here or something,
Yeah.
man.
I think we're more alike than different on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is about our babies, and this is about fathers being growing and being reunited with families and changing family trajectories and flipping generational trajectories and demolishing generational curses, Doc. Let's go into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, man.
Go into it right.
Yeah. Man, that's it's just fresh air right there hearing you say those things.